Hello, everyone. Royce here. I want to thank you all for joining me on my Royce in the House YouTube channel. We're going to have fun tonight. I want everybody participating. Tonight, we're going to be talking about posthumously released songs and albums. And the list is endless, so we're going to just hit some highlights here, okay? How did I get the idea for this show? Well, I saw that the Doors had released a new album live in Bakersfield, California. This was actually recorded in like 1970, but it was just released at this most current record day sale. Okay. So the thing shot to 129 on the Billboard chart and number 14 on the total sales chart, which includes albums, CDs, streaming, you name it. So I thought, well, let's go through this. Let's talk about some of these bands that bands or individual artists that were ranking high with their posthumously released recordings. So what do you think about this, Michael?
Well, the first album that comes to mind for me, Royce, I glitched out there. Is my voice coming through?
Oh, very, very
All
loud,
right, great.
loud and clear. Yeah.
Of course. And by the way, if anybody in the viewing peanut gallery there is from my channel, big hi, Catherine S. There she is. But the album, it's not really a posthumous album, but it is. And it's Milk and Honey, or not Milk and Honey, Double Fantasy by John Lennon.
John Lennon.
And because it was released before his death, I bought it. I loved it. Well, one side of it I loved. Yoko's side over the years fared real well. It was in VG plus condition, right?
Yeah, I actually have that album, Michael. I have that album. Yeah.
And I loved it, and it sold nothing. Nobody. It didn't get good reviews, nothing. And I'm going, woman, watching the wheels? Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
All right. This was some of the most exciting music he had written since he was in the Beatles. I mean, his side of that album is classic John Lennon. And of course, he was killed. And everybody and their monkey's uncle had that album all of a sudden. And everybody, just praised and glorified it. Shame on Lennon fans who ignored him at that time, because you were legion, folks. You were legion. Well, all right. Shame on you.
Michael, didn't the song Woman hit #1 on the Billboard charts?
I don't recall how high any of them got. Okay. I do recall this. He got, however high he was, I don't even know if he was hitting the top 10 on his first two singles, but they were already crashing. I was so devastated because at this time, everybody knows I'm a McCartney fan, but at this time and up to the time that John Lennon passed away, or he didn't pass away, some clown offed him. Up to this time, it was John or Paul. It didn't matter. I bought both of their albums equally. I got equally excited about a Wings album as I did Imagine. I love the Plastic Ono Band album. See what I'm saying? And then we got Milk and Honey, another posthumous album. So those are two albums I have a complaint about, and for different reasons. All right. But that would be my mention. What about you, Johnny?
I agree, like with that Double Fantasy. Before I have the album, and I don't understand it, because that was a great album. Those songs were absolutely fantastic, I think.
Yes, they all of them were. There's not a clunker on it,
Exactly. So you're right that all of a sudden, people like they do a lot of people do that anyways with other singers, and stuff like they don't buy their album or whatever. They ignore them and all that. But then after they die or pass away, everybody just happens to just love them, right? And they all buy their, which is kind of sad, I think. If you're going to be a fan, you're going to be a fan.
Right.
No matter, and not wait until they pass away, and then all of a sudden I'm a fan type thing. No.
Well, that's something else we could talk about tonight. The psychology behind the average fan that is out to buy these albums because obviously with this Doors album, Royce, we have an album that everybody's excited about, right? But what is it about? Yeah, what is it about when somebody dies? There's this renewed interest inside of you that gets going. Is it just a matter of being happy days, kind of longing for the past, or what?
I think for me, a lot of it's emotional. It elicits emotion in me. It's like the very first hit, the very first #1 hit song to be released posthumously was Otis Redding's "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay."
Right.
And I can't tell you, I've said this many times in the past. I've had a couple of shows where we covered Otis Redding, including the plane crash and the whole 9 yards. Another time where I just included him in a soul show. But Otis Redding, I have listened to that man and that song in particular as much as I've listened to anybody, and more than most. I absolutely love Otis Redding. He's got the most amazing voice in the world. And that song, "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay," I could listen to that damn song. I mean, when I was a teenager on my 8-track, I could listen to that song over and over again all damn day. It never grows old, and it still doesn't grow old.
Right.
So that was an important one to me. And it's probably a little bit of an emotional thing. I think he was 26 years old when the plane crashed. And, we had a show. Dan McNew was on it. Dan brought some pictures of him pulling the plane up out of the water and things like that.
Right.
It was just wild. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what was it? I was just looking it up. Which one? Well, of course, the first big rock and roll posthumous album was Buddy Holly's "Peggy Sue Got Married." Okay. Right. And they had to have musicians come in after the fact for some of those recordings. And of course, it sold like hotcakes. Rock and roll was still extremely young. And this was the first major star to die. As a matter of fact, it's been called the day the music died. Of course, they've used that to explain John Lennon's death, Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix, the one he released in 1971, I thought, wow, now there's a great album, because people, first of all, with Jimi Hendrix, it's not just the material, it's his guitar playing. People need to hear anything that's locked away in the vault by this master guitarist.
Are you talking about the Cry of Love?
Yes, Cry of Love, 1971.
Yeah, okay. You know what's interesting? I have that album, but like the overwhelming majority of his albums are posthumous releases. Okay, I have I think 20 Jimi Hendrix albums, and there's only 3 studio albums there, and I've got stuff that dates back before he was even discovered in England.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and what about Queen's? What was it called? The Miracle. In which they took, Freddie was singing songs one after another after his death. Right. Okay. And I got to tell you, I mean, it sold big for them. And yet Innuendo, the album before that, was really the first posthumous, although it's not seen because it was released while he was still alive, but he was doing the same shit on that album as he was doing on The Miracle. And Innuendo is one of Queen's very best albums of all time. All right. The Miracle is so, but Innuendo, are you freaking kidding me? Right. And that's a posthumous album. It needed to be heard.
Was Made in Heaven on that album? Because that was a huge posthumous.
I think that's the last one. Yeah. No, that's not on Innuendo. But and I loved it because they said all songs written by Queen. There was not so much individual songwriter credit.
Well, let me just take a moment to thank everybody that's in the chat. Got a lot of great people here. We really appreciate you being here. And the other co-host can't see who's in the chat unless I'm clicking on your messages and bringing them up. Jimi Hendrix had an album worth of good, finished, ready to release songs when he died. That's exactly right. And that must have been Cry of Love.
Yeah, there was some touches that had to be done for Cry of Love, though. It wasn't totally complete, but it was much like what we were talking about before with Buddy Holly.
That's exactly right.
Anything that Hendrix was going to offer on the album was pretty whole, right? So all they had to do was, oh man, he wanted Billy Cobham on that track. Oh man, we'll have to get Ringo or whoever,
right. Well, go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead, buddy.
I was going to say, like Jimi Hendrix. I really didn't buy any of Jimi Hendrix. I've heard, of course, everybody's heard of almost everybody's of Jimi Hendrix. What a great guitar player he is, and everything else.
Fantastic.
The only one I'm really aware of is the Watch. What's that one? The Watchtower.
All Along the Watchtower.
The Watchtower.
That's the only
written by Bob Dylan, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Written by Bob Dylan.
That's the only
one. But Hendrix owns the song.
Oh yeah,
Bob merely wrote it.
He made it his own big time.
God!
So that's the only one basically I'm kind of aware of because I wasn't really into.
Well,
but I also watched him in the what was it that big thing that they had not Woodstock, was it Woodstock, where he played the last he was on the last set, I think. And he was playing his guitar.
That's
the
exactly
Star Spangled Banner and all of that.
And all that.
But you know what, Johnny? All Along the Watchtower is from what I consider Hendrix's best album, Electric Ladyland.
No, that's on Are You Experienced? All Along the Watchtower, along with Purple Haze.
Wasn't it All Along the Watchtower?
The Wind Cries Mary.
Hold on a second. Maybe I've got it wrong.
The Wind Cries Mary.
Okay, Purple
You're
Haze.
the expert on Hendrix, so you got me.
That one, Purple Haze. That was a good one too.
Yeah, that was a great one too. Yeah, All Along the Watchtower, Purple Haze, The Wind Cries Mary, Manic Depression. Those were all on Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I've just listened to it too damn many times.
Well, I love
Jimi Hendrix. I'm a huge Jimi Hendrix fan. And they're still releasing new stuff every time you turn around. I've got the 3-album set Live in Maui, which came with the Blu-ray DVD that has both concerts on it. And and the stuff that keeps coming out is good stuff. They just released Hendrix Live at the Hollywood Bowl recently.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's Hendrix and Led Zeppelin are two dark spots in my concert going live. I never got to see Jimi Hendrix live. I never got to see Led Zeppelin live. I guess I thought I always had time,
Right. Well, with me, Led Zeppelin, I bought tickets. They were set to go.
Yeah,
I was going to go see them. I was working as a janitor in the daytime, so I could gig at night, and so I had to do drop a gig or two and get certain accounts done. And the bass player in my band at that time was also working as a janitor. I don't know why. He was a rich kid from the right side of the tracks. I wasn't. And so me and a group of friends all got together and we did our accounts real quick and stood outside the Emporium all night to get those tickets. They canceled because of Robert Plant's son dying. And that was... that's my biggest regret.
I know
of all rock and roll concerts I missed. Led Zeppelin.
And I moved to Southern California in 1971, and this stuff was going on all around me. I mean, I did get to see, Ozzy Osbourne in Black Sabbath for the second time in 75. And I got to see, Sly and the Family Stone twice at the Hollywood Palladium. Richie Havens. I love Richie Havens. What a fantastic act he puts on. He comes out on, I think it was like the Roxy Theater downtown Long Beach. He walks out in a suit with an acoustic guitar, doesn't sit down or anything. He stood up and hopped up and down through every single song and was drenched in water by the time he was done performing. It was one of the most amazing things I ever saw in my life.
Yeah, I've always heard he puts his all into each performance. But you know what? Led Zeppelin, since we're talking about Led Zeppelin, what about Coda? Coda is a posthumous album.
Yes, it is. That's correct.
And guess what? Correct. it always winds up, and it is my least favorite Led Zeppelin album, but it's still a great album.
Yeah.
It's just that their other albums were so fantastic.
They're all good, but there are better. You know?
But the two singles from that album actually charted way high because, you know, this happened. I mean, 1 minute Led Zeppelin is, 1 minute they're not. And it was ended by a tragedy. You know, the Beatles ended, and then we got 10 more years of John. We didn't get that with Bonham, didn't we? Hey, Nicholas.
No. Hey, Novice Nick, brother. What's happening, man? Hey, you know, the music sanctuary is hitting the nail on the head right here. Hendrix family has learned quite well how to profit from his name and death.
Yes, they have.
But what my understanding now is there's two factions, and they're both have the rights to release material. So the stuff's just coming out hot and heavy. You can buy Hendrix bobbleheads or anything you want now.
But it's been done well. That's the nice thing about it. It's been done well.
And you know, and he was never paid that well either, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, the people, just like the fighters, you know, the producers were stealing it all.
Yep.
Right.
Isn't that all?
But what about Prince's album that was released after his death, and it's partially put together music, and there's been a lot of criticism that was a cash grab. That's when that's an example of a posthumous album that may not should have been made.
That's right. I have that album too.
I agree. That's doing it poorly versus Hendrix family doing it right.
Right.
You forgot George Michael's posthumous album.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sure there was one there. I just wasn't looking for it, Nick.
Right.
It came out a year ago or two.
Right.
Time flies by so quick.
Just in time to pre-promote his induction into the Pop Rock and Roll Hall of Hobnobbles.
You know, guys, I've got to bring this up. Janis Joplin's album Pearl reached #1 posthumously, and that is a fantastic album. I think I have 2 copies of it, and I love that album. You know which one? She sings Mercedes-Benz, I think, without any instrumentation.
Yeah.
Other than her human voice.
Lord, won't you buy me
a Mercedes-Benz? My friends all have Lincolns. I must make amends.
My friends all have Porsches.
I
must make amends. I'm sorry.
I worked hard all my lifetime. No help from my friends. Oh, Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes? Oh, Lord, won't you buy me a night on the town? I'm counting. I'll stop there. I know the words, though. I'm counting on you, Lord, to buy the next round.
I haven't listened to my album in a while. This is great.
Hey, next week, the 4 of us are going to show up because we're starting a barbershop quartet.
All right.
You know,
that's good.
One great song with Janis Joplin that I really, really like is Ball and Chain.
Oh, yeah.
And watching her on YouTube on stage and doing that. Boy, she just brings out the soul and
she is
unbelievable.
So good. You know?
Well, I'm amazed that she was so well liked by so many mom and pops after she died. You know, a lot of those sales were bought by people well into their late 30s, 40s, late 40s even. That accounted for a lot of the sales from that album. And yet, Janis, the person, would not have been the people or a person that a lot of those people were following. So it was almost safe to like Janis now.
Right. It was different. Yeah. Well, you know,
because I remember going to my friend's house and going, "You got the Janis Joplin album?" Because I wasn't into her. Big Brother and the Holding Company, yes, but you know, and they go, "No, that's my dad's."
You know? I never heard a bad Janis Joplin song. They were all good, very good.
Her voice.
In fact, it was Me and Bobby McGee was the #1 hit off the album Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's another example. Didn't Chris Christopherson write that?
I think he did. Yeah.
And I love his version. All right.
Oh yeah.
I love Chris Christopherson, but she owns that song now. Just like Hendrix owned misquoted all along the Watchtower, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Whitney Houston owns the Dolly Parton song, right? And Dolly loves the fact that, boy, she hit it big with the song, right?
Yeah, well, you know what? A lot of people cut that song down, and I can understand why, but I like it myself.
Wow.
I always did.
I've never heard anybody.
I also want to say, if anybody's come over and is watching now from Michael Nolan's channel, we really appreciate you being here. You know,
tribal members,
yeah. But you know, I got to bring up
Royce.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I looked at your splash page, and it's got the Doors, you know, the double album there that just came out, and I went to pull mine, and I can't find it.
Oh, you can't?
I pulled out every Doors album in my rack. I'm like, where is it? I know I have it. It's in my Discogs. I remember cleaning it. I misfiled it. And now I'm in duress because I can't find it.
Well, does it have a distinct? I'm not aware of it. Does it have a distinctive spine to look for?
I've only played it once.
Not always easy to find things.
See, I think I could pick out the White Album pretty quickly in somebody's library.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
well, I don't know. You might end up with a handful of monos.
Right, exactly.
Because that's got the same. It's the Mono Masters is all white as well.
Well, you know, the Beatles once again with Now and Then, that entered the chart at I think 129. 129.
Yeah,
and no, it debuted at number 7. I'm sorry. It started, November 18th.
Well, that's as high as it ever got. Yeah. But in England, it was a number 1. So Beatle fans pretty much count England and American sales for the most part.
What that did for the Beatles, though, it extended their record of the most among all groups.
Yeah. I know, and then they had 4 or 5 people, single artists who got even more. But you know what, Royce? I swear to God, 50 years will bear me out. I won't be around. But
no, I won't be around.
If you're 9 and watching this, the old man up here predicts that Taylor Swift albums will be given away 2 apiece for every Donny Osmond album you buy. And nobody will be buying those. All right. And they will still be buying the Beatles. The Beatles will be teaching the children of today's grandchildren music. Okay.
Royce. I got another thing with Royce.
Hi, Chris. Chris. Let's all welcome Chris Elliott.
Hey, Chris.
You know, Chris. I have a bar down here, and I have to scroll down, and until I do that, the 4 people that were on before you came on are all I see. And once you said that, I scrolled a bar down, and boom, and there you were. Thank you. Good to see you, brother.
No problem.
Hey, good to see you. Speaking of Now and Then, so I'm in my one of my rooms, and I'm opening stuff, and there's a plastic bag that you can't see through, and I hate those. So I take off the tie twist, open it up, and it's got DVD movies in it. And Now and Then is the name of one of the movies. It has nothing to do with the Beatles. I was like, is there a copyright infringement here?
Well, you know what, Nick? I sometimes I'll look for images for my videos. You know, those images that float up when I'm yammering. And I did the same thing when I was doing my videos for Now and Then. I typed that in, and it just sent me to that freaking movie. I had never heard of that movie.
Neither had I, and I own it.
Right.
Royce.
Doing good, Manny. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, is it okay if I just show one album that I got?
Yeah, absolutely. Show it.
I was really excited about this, right?
I'll show one right after you're done.
Michael knows the story. I think he heard it, and it was kind of a riot.
Oh yeah, this no, you got to tell him, Johnny. This is a great story. I love this story.
So anyway, I wasn't really into Alice Cooper that much, but I still like some of his music anyway. So I seen the new one, Road, and And so I got it, and so I'm bringing it home, and I figured, the LP, it's usually, to me, in my mind, an LP is usually 33 RPMs, right?
Right.
So I'm bringing it home, and I put it on the platter to play, and all of a sudden I hear, like, it sounded like a hard metal band. It sounded like rah, 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 rah. I mean, you could understand it and everything, and it's really sounded like hard metal, right? And I'm thinking, shit, I don't like hard metal. What the hell is this? This doesn't sound like Alice Cooper, that I know. No freaking way. So I'm panicking, right? I'm going, what the hell? What's going on? So I'm sitting there about after a half hour, thinking, what the hell's going on? I don't like heavy metal, right? What's going on? Alice Cooper. And I figured, okay, Alice Cooper, lots of times he'll put in, and I thought it was like a voice, what do you call it, changer or something? So he put changes the voice. So I thought it was part of the thing, right? And then I'm thinking, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna for some reason I'm gonna put on 45 and see. And I put it on 45. It's like, oh God, thank you. I had to be on 45 to listen to this.
That is funny, man. That's funny.
Well, and you know what? And Rachel, when he was sharing that story on Rachel's channel, it was interesting because Rachel said, yeah, the reason is, and it is true, the reason that I was so interested in high-speed cassette recording decks back in the 80s was, first of all, Bruce Springsteen. I'm a fan. I'm critical of him, but I am a fan. Did Nebraska. I had to get my hands on that and put my songs together, and and so the only reason you could do that with cassettes, because we're talking an 1/8 inch here, and you're going to divide an 1/8 inch into 4 sections. All right. Okay. 1/32 of an inch. The problem with sound is that when it travels at this speed and you're getting waves like this, they bump up against the edge and causes saturation, right? So, but when the speed is going this fast, then those waves become smaller and you eliminate a lot of saturation that way. So a lot of that kind of basic sound science goes into releasing albums. So you're getting the very best that album can sound, and it sounds freaking amazing, Johnny.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just
really does.
When that happened, after that I sat back and laughed at myself.
Johnny,
what about the posthumous album, Royce, that created 12 or 15? It seems like brand new albums by the very same artists that died. What about Leonard Skinner's For the Last Time? What is that called? The album that came out, the last album, right? And then within 3 or 4 years, Little Brother's up at the microphone, and pretty soon they've even got new material, and it just keeps going. It's part of the game.
I'm sure I have that album, but I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
I'm having trouble too.
Well, another one I have to bring up is Elvis Presley. Okay, right after his death in '77, he released 5 right after his death in '77, and he released another 4 in the 2000s. And so that's pretty impressive. But I'm sure there are going to be people topping that soon.
Was that first and last?
Was that the last?
Hendrix is a perfect example. He's got so many posthumous albums out now, and they just keep coming out.
Leonard Skinner was, I think the last album was The Last Rebel. It was released in
1990. No, First and Last. It's called Skinner's First and Last.
Yeah.
Right? I just found it. I even used it as part of the artwork on my community tab announcing your show tonight.
1980.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nirvana, MTV Unplugged in New York, it debuted as the #1 hit album on the Billboard charts.
As well it should have.
It's one of my favorites. I have that. I have it in CD, but I also have it on vinyl. and it is great. I never get tired of listening to that album.
You're talking about the MTV Unplugged, right?
Yes, live in New York, Unplugged. Yeah.
You know what? That's way up there with for me. The Allman Brothers live at. Of course, we've talked about that this past summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Fillmore East. Yes, thank you. Yeah. And then McCartney's Wings Over America, I think, is a vastly underrated, especially with the light touch that went into any re-recording of mistakes or anything. It's almost non-existent because McCartney's band sounds that good, and especially Wings. I mean, that was an amazing band, right?
Absolutely.
So, and MTV Unplugged is right up there as far as live albums go. And all three of those examples have so many different things to offer the listener, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
You guys are mentioning,
yes, Jeff, you got it right. First and last. Thank you.
When you guys mentioned live albums, there's one that doesn't really get mentioned that should be is a Live Bullet from Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I love Bob Seger. I've got a 2 album. I think it's a greatest hits in like translucent green vinyl. It's just a great album.
Yeah.
Bob Seger's awesome. We used to love when I was a young carpenter on the job site, and we're all out there framing houses with our shirts off. The radio's playing, and when Night Moves came on, we were all singing that as loud as we could.
Yeah, he's got a few good songs. I got a couple of his albums too. So, but
Turn the Page is probably my favorite by him.
Yeah, that's a great song too.
Well, it's just a great song. Yeah. That's a tale of rock and roll, baby. I love it.
Did you hear what Metallica said when they recorded their cover? They're going,
no.
Shit, we should have wrote this song even before Bob did.
And they do a very good cover of it too.
Yeah.
Well, they were on a 2-year tour for the Black Album, right? So.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great album. I love that album.
Well, and you can obviously hear what's the now I lay me down to sleep. That kind of writing. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Right. If I could die before I
enter the Sandman.
Yeah, Enter the Sandman. There's and Turn the Page. There's, they're right. It's very Metallica when you think about it.
That Black Album is my favorite Metallica album.
Oh, it is mine too, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Everybody goes, "Oh, that's the one everybody would pick." Well, there's a reason for that.
There's a reason.
It's
it's that good.
Enter the Sandman, The Unforgiven.
I'm not one of those people who go, I really like Frank Gorsham's third comedy album that was recorded on East 52nd Street, downtown, I don't know where'sville. I mean, I get so tired of that. If I have any criticism of my channel is, well, you just cover the big names. Every once in a while I'll get a thing like that, and I go, well, first of all, there are hundreds of big names, so I'm not going to run out of material real soon on my channel. And second of all, that's because I freaking bought this shit. Okay, all right, and I still love it. And oh gosh, does that make me ordinary to you? Did I not get an obscure Bob Dylan album that you got? Shame on me.
Guys, the first album released by the Doors posthumously did not have Jim Morrison on it. It was the remaining members of the Doors.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right, huh?
Yeah.
They did some sort of thing, and it wasn't really received well, as I recall.
No, but
it didn't do bad, I thought.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad, but the big criticism was,
But
how do you replace that voice?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. The Doors without Jim,
or his lyrics, or his lyrics,
Michael,
or his lyrics, or his antics.
Yeah. What's that, Nick?
On your last video, the 100 that are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh,
I had half my restaurant with jaw dropped listening to that. They're like, "No, wait, what?"
Yeah.
How are they not? How are they not in the right? No way. The next one pops up. Yeah. They were falling out.
Mind-boggling. That's for sure.
And Nick, I had a list of 200.
Oh, I bet
200. And believe me, there are just as big a names on that next 200 as there were on this one. I tried to blend it to make sure that, you know, I mean, all genres, as much as that could be called rock, were in there. As a matter of fact, I could have included Cher, which I guess, you know, with her and Sonny and Cher at that time, that was pop rock, along with the Monkees, the Beatles, and you know, the Kinks. Even, you know, there was a pop rock feel, and so she has the legitimacy.
Well, over the generations.
And
definition of rock changed.
Right. You know, and so she became more of a pop diva, but that does not take away the fact that she's had a #1 hit in more decades than anybody else. And she just said in this latest interview, this is the latest, folks, if you haven't heard this, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame could pay her $1 million and she'd tell them to go themselves. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, you know, folks, no conversation about posthumous songs would be complete without mentioning Tom Petty. Okay.
Right.
He's got a song. Let's see, what's the name of it here?
He's even got Mud Crunch songs out now.
Love is a Long Road, recently released, recently reached, I'm sorry, #7. How did this happen? You ask. How did this happen? The track was featured in the trailer for the video game Grand Theft Auto 6.
Oh, wow.
And that helped. As you can imagine. So
but from what I understand, there's going to be many more coming from Tom Petty and the Heartbreaker.
He released the greatest hits album as well, posthumously. That was huge.
Yeah.
Tom Petty was great. We've always liked Tom Petty here at our household.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean,
first time
fantastic.
To me, and you'll go, how do you kind of tie these two bands together? But to me, it was either, at that time when I was listening, it was either Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers or the Cars. And the reason why I say the Cars is both bands mixed their records to sound good on a 3-inch Ford Pinto AM station wagon speaker. If it sounded good on that, it would sound even better on the album. And that was both bands' secrets, is they mixed intentionally their songs to sound good on AM radio.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And look what they did with that, man. Both bands. You know, both bands ruled the late 70s and early 80s, man.
Try to buy a Rhino Cars record.
Right.
try to get one of those 5,000.
When it comes to
Royce,
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Was AC/DC's Highway to Hell released like just 2 weeks after Bon Scott passed away?
I think it was. Posthumous for Bon Scott. Yeah.
It just popped in my mind, and I was thinking about that. I thought it was.
Yeah, that's a great album. I think I have 3 copies of that on CD and 2 on vinyl, and I really don't know how I got them all.
Animal House, man of many voices.
Yeah.
So Royce, I have to take off. I have something to take care of.
Okay.
So,
okay.
But I'm going to be listening while I'm doing what I have to do.
Okay.
So
good to see you, Johnny.
Thanks for letting me on.
Johnny. No. Come back anytime.
I was
anytime, Johnny.
Every time. We really appreciate. We really enjoy having you on.
To tell my story about the Alice Cooper thing.
Try playing that record in '78 next time, Johnny.
You're keeping us grounded, brother. You're keeping us grounded.
typical old fart though. Putting it on an Alice album on, and you think it's 33, and it's like, it's 45.
Johnny, if anyone tells you they haven't done that. A, they either don't spin enough records, or B, they're lying.
Well, I've been I've been staying quiet about that. But,
yeah, come on.
that's all I'm gonna say.
We've all done it.
All right. Good night, guys.
Night, Johnny.
Good night, Johnny.
Love you, bro.
Thank you.
Take care, man.
You know what, Royce?
Take care too.
Night. I was going to say, you just clicked him off. The guy, Eric Schultz's comment.
Okay, here
where he was starting. Yeah, Black Star was almost. Yeah, that's right along with Eric. The same thing I was talking about with Queen, especially the album Innuendo, right?
Exactly.
But even with Miracle, it continued. They both Freddie and David were, working right up unto their death. And you know what? You can't. To me, working at something you love and then you pass away doing it, I could think of better way or worse ways to go, right?
No, that's true. Yeah.
Absolutely. And both of them consummate, and it's interesting, both of them collaborated with each other, Queen and David Bowie. So, and there must have been a reason that drew them together. I'm wondering if part of it was artistic work ethic,
Well, could have been, yeah.
Wow.
Without being rude or crude, there are many a man and woman that has died doing exactly what they love to do.
Right.
If you catch my drift.
That's the best way to go out.
But it's true. It's human nature. It is true.
I don't know if it's the best. I don't know if it's the best for the survivor.
No. Hey, literally, I killed that.
But I don't know either.
Hey, it's your death. You're the one that gets the wish. Survivor be damned.
That's right. You got no worries at that point, brother.
I'm sure both Freddie and David tried their best to go out that way.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. And so as a second choice, well, I might as well make some music.
Yeah.
But no, my hat goes. I mean, we're joking about it, but I cover a lot of rock and roll bullshit on my channel, and that to me is a wonderful story of how David Bowie and Freddie Prinze chose to go out. There is an honor to that death and a bravery. I'm not sure. I can't tell you. I might get and crawl up in a shell, and just pass away. I don't know how I would react to that, but I do know what impresses me. And that kind of death is a noble and honorable one. You can honestly put on their epitaph, he came, he created, he died. What better epitaph could any one of us ever want?
No, I hear you.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
But and then we get posthumous albums that the record industry controls, and there's just bless you, boys.
That's the truth. Thank you.
But like in the case of Buddy Holly, it was more important to get it out. He was a big man, big news. Who else? Getting a lot of. What's his name? The guy who did What's Going On? His father killed him.
Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye, thank you. I mean, how many, it's like the record industry just keeps outputting. And you know what? It wasn't long ago that I heard somebody saying that they didn't like, I forget what channel it was on. They didn't like the album that has What's Going On and all of that, well, it's not the answer. I love that album.
That's a great album.
And they thought, well, besides those hits, it was full of filler. And I don't think it is. I think it's one of classic.
No.
I see it as a classic rock album.
I was a huge soul music fan.
Yeah, I know it's soul, but to me, it's rock and roll to me, man.
Right at the top. Yeah. Okay. I can go there.
Well, it was just as that album was just as popular with us rockers as it was to old people.
Depending on where you're at, you might hear on the jukebox Steppenwolf's, Magic Carpet Ride. The next song is that song,
That's right.
And they all were mixed together, and
Do you mean Steppenwolf? Another band that's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
No, right? They are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Nope.
Sick.
Nope.
Oh, that blows my mind. I would have never guessed that at all.
And they had their own sound at a time that it was hard to find a band with their own sound.
Yeah, they had.
You knew that it didn't matter what goddamn the Pusher Man.
Goddamn,
it didn't matter. You knew that was Steppenwolf.
Yeah, I like that song, Born to Be
Wild.
Oh,
me too.
Not to mention they were the first band to use the term heavy metal in music.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah, I actually was in a bar in Delaware, just off campus. It was all female campus, and we got invited to go hang out at this bar. No idea. And we get there, and it's Steppenwolf playing in the bar. I'm sitting on one of the speakers on the stage, rocking butts off, and I'm like, "What? Are you kidding me?" Yeah, it was It was an incredible evening. It took 3 weeks for that smile to leave my face. It was much fun.
That's amazing. Guys, I was one of my friends, Linda Watson from Henderson, Nevada. She loved all the local bands back there. Long after I left, she'd go see the local bands play. She put together a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for local bands and put on a concert. Nice. And we went back there. We're excited to go back there. I didn't know most of the bands because I left before, they were prominent in the area, playing all over Vegas and the clubs and stuff, like my younger brother Richie did. But anyway, so she also got John Kay, the singer from Steppenwolf, to show up and sing Born to Be Wild. And that was great. Yeah, it was great. Awesome. Yeah, wow. It was a lot of fun. And I've invited her on a few times to co-host, and stuff, but she just not ready. She's not ready to do it. But she's got a lot of background, with the music.
I know one thing. Looking at your list there, Michael, is one. I mean, obviously, it's hard to fathom any of those bands, but Robert Plant, as a solo artist, is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Nope. No, he isn't. And you know what? Robert Plant, now think about this. Forget Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just go back to when Robert Plant started with the Honey Drippers and past that, right up into 2023. The man has had an incredible, and those first 4 or 5 albums was in everybody's collection. Yeah. Okay. And the fact the man doesn't tour his own highly successful early solo career has amazed me as well.
That's true, isn't it?
Faded Nations, Pictures at 11, those albums are fantastic. And he's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Not at all. David Lee Roth, Sammy Hagar as solo performers are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
No, they're not. I was going to ask about David Lee Roth. Nope. They're not.
Yeah.
That's
and here's one that I didn't mention that was on my list, and I kicked myself for not including it because it needs to be rectified. Paul McCartney is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as one of the Beatles. He's also in for his solo career. What about Wings? Yeah. What about Wings?
Absolutely.
The band Wings, and every single member that were on their records needs to be inducted either posthumously or brought up on stage. We just lost Denny Lane. Now, here's how important Denny Lane was. If it wasn't for Denny Lane, I wouldn't be asking for Wings to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because it would have just been Paul McCartney's solo career. Denny Lane co-wrote a whole lot of those songs. Just one of the songs he co-wrote was Mull of Kintyre. He wrote most of it, Paul just wrote the part, Mall of Kintyre. That's his part. Denny wrote, Long Have I Traveled. You know, that, you know, the bulk of the song was Denny Lane's. Take a look at who wrote it today, Paul McCartney. Why? Because he bought Denny Lane's portion of it and chose to continue to say he wrote it. Yeah, I love Paul. You know, I've already mentioned how much I love Paul. That's a chintzy move.
Yeah, it is.
You should have kept his name on it, and then you get all the money. I understand it's a business deal, you know, but put Denny's name back on it, because Denny was that important to that band, and that's why Wings, not because it's Paul McCartney's band, but because it's Wings. You know, and kudos go to Linda, because any band that has Linda, Denny, or Paul is Wings, man.
Yeah. And, you know, speaking of which, how can an artist, I don't care how big an ego you have, do that to another artist? You own it. So what? You're getting paid for it. So what? You're going to erase an artist's name? That's basically what he's doing. That's unconscionable.
And anytime I've heard Paul talk about the story, he's very vague about who wrote it and stuff. My information comes from an interview from Denny Lane. Okay, on how that song is broke down.
It shows the insecurities of a huge star. How can you be so insecure? But then again, there's so little we really know about so many artists. I mean, who knew what's his name was going to commit suicide, right? You don't know these people. No matter how much they are in public, we don't really know them.
Right. Yeah, well, and Royce and I were talking before we got on air tonight. You know, everybody shits and gets off the toilet.
Yep.
Okay. These are just other people that have to take a piss 4 or 5 times a day. And as they get older, many more times.
Yeah.
Right. But no, they put their shoes on, you know, one at a time.
Absolutely.
Right. You know, just like us. And actually, I think, Nick, it would have spoke historically even more of Paul's genius if it just was brought up that way. Because think about it. Paul McCartney, one of his most major contributions to a song was A Day in the Life. Just a small segment of it. But it wasn't a full song until Paul entered the picture. It needed that. And Mull of Kintyre is this beautiful story, but only Paul McCartney could come up with Mull of Kintyre, the whole simplicity. What a wonderful melody. He would have looked even better if he, see what I can do to a song, guys? #1 in England and held the record for what, 2 decades? As the biggest selling #1 in England of all time.
Wow.
You know? Denny Lane, man. So they need to be put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know?
Actually, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame needs to be pelted with rocks and reduce the rubble.
Oh, God. I've currently got a poll going on my channel, Nick. And the last time I looked was earlier today. 75% of my people, and this is, I think it's about 750 people have responded to it so far, would agree with you.
Michael, okay? I looked for that poll and didn't find it. Where is that
poll?
Oh,
it's on my community page. Just go to community, go to my channel, go to community. And then the first thing you'll see there right now is introducing tonight's episode. But I've got 4 polls underneath. There's no picture, just the question, and you can click yes or no. And 75% think that it needs. See, I think it needs. It needs an over. It needs an. Thank you, you, Chris. And here's how I would do it. LL Killjoy will be immediately removed. Missy Elliott will be immediately removed. So will Dolly Parton. So will Willie Nelson. 2 of those people I'm actually fans of.
Yeah.
Okay. All All infractions shall be corrected. The board will no longer have, as part of its nominating committee, rap magazine publishers. Okay? Anybody that doesn't have anything to do with rock and roll just lost your fucking job. All right? And then we're going to correct some stuff. And for every artist we remove, in comes Foreigner. Fuck you, Jan Winter. Okay? And many other bands. How about Jethro Tull? Jethro Tull's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I don't get that at all.
King Crimson isn't in the Rock and fucking Hall of Fame. Are you kidding?
Wow.
Well, we'll just take Missy out and put King Crimson right on in there, baby. Okay? Take it back. Don't destroy it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take it back. It's ours.
Yeah.
And fuck these people. Get rid of them. Just they already see the people that we're going to get rid of next. They already did us a favor and got rid of Jan Winter.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
See,
we'll see if it improves. Maybe we'll find out he wasn't all the whole problem. I mean,
at my age,
yes, he was, Royce. And,
okay.
No, that's well documented. That is so well documented. I've got interviews from bands who have said, Foreigner, who said that the other members didn't even know there was a problem. It was mainly because of Mick and Jan getting into a tussle, an argument about something, and Jan Winter stating to the band with witnesses, that band will be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame over my dead body. Well, we don't need your dead body anymore, you dick.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Get the hell out of there, Anyway,
I found with age, I found that no matter what it is in this world, in this life, that if the foundation is not sturdy and built right, it needs to be taken down and rebuilt. Nothing will stand without a great foundation, and the foundation of this place is sour. It is weird.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
We need to put Nick. We need to put Royce. He's a subcontractor. We'll just put him in there and rework the foundation.
I've poured lots of them on steep hillsides.
Yeah. No, because you know what? The house is falling. And, I'm surprised because I get a lot of flack, especially in the vinyl community, about making such a big deal about this. But here's the thing. I never seem to be able to express myself right in this. But this is hurting the whole art form of rock and roll and how it will be perceived in the future. There's a legacy that's being destroyed here by, but see, in this day and age, if you can't be what you feel like you are,
thank you.
Ye shall call me a rock god.
Yeah.
Okay? Fuck you.
Well, they're trying to homogenize everything, erase everything, make it all the same so everybody's feelings are...
David,
that's it.
Rock
Nick.
and roll's rock. This is country. This is
that's
jazz.
Right.
I mean, you have to define what they are. And
that's right.
And if it doesn't fit that, it fits somewhere else.
Yeah, there's no winners, there's no losers. Everybody gets a trophy.
Yes, thank you for showing
Chris,
all the children.
I was just thinking the same thing, Chris.
Yeah.
Who did we get in this last debacle? Don Cornelius from Soul Train?
Yeah.
No.
He's in. He's in, baby.
I pretty much stopped watching and paying much attention to it because it just got so bad,
Yeah.
Dick Clark shouldn't be in the damn thing. He had a TV show that mainly sucked.
I
watched it all the time. But
category? No, I did too. What category
he
was
brought
he in?
rock and roll and lots of genres of music to the country. So
there
is an argument to be made there.
There is an argument. There is an argument, but
that's a special class in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, not an artist.
He played a big
But
part.
if you're going to be honest about Bandstand, because the very first time I ever saw Steely Dan was on Bandstand, I went downtown and bought Can't Buy a Thrill. after watching them do it on,
Promotions,
Jack, do it again. So yes, you're right, Nick. But at the same time, we also got hits from and all anything. So it was a blandness that Dick Clark offered.
Yeah.
And he almost became so Americana that wasn't that the beginning of just blending it all in? Oh, it's all music. It's just a music award, Michael. Quit getting all upset. I don't understand why this is. Can't we all just be friends?
Put the round peg in the round hole.
Right,
put the square peg in the square hole, right? That's all we're asking.
That's all.
Wait a minute.
Right.
You mean round peg, round hole? Square peg, square hole?
That's all I'm asking, brother.
When was the last time,
I think even a 9-year-old could do that.
When was the last time Metallica was brought up at the Country, Hall of Fame?
Right.
Well, wasn't it Alan Jackson who just did some sort of go fuck yourself to the Country Awards or the Country Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I don't.
And
remember
thank you. He is now Country's Steve Miller. Remember what Steve Miller did? He got right up there and someone tried to shut him. He goes, "No, I won't shut up. You shut up. You don't know who you're talking to." Anyway, tonight, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame treated us like shit. He got right up there and said it.
Yep.
It's about time. Chrissy Hines says, "Fuck you" to the Rock and Roll. Cher says, "Fuck you" to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There's a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
The foundation's bad.
Yeah, the foundation's bad. That's exactly right. Yeah.
We're living in the last days. The temple will be rebuilt.
I hope so. I really hope so.
That's a different
that damn Dome of the Rock. What are we going to do with that thing? Anyway, I'll shut up.
The Dick Clark 5. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Here's David from Safe and Sound. He's an honorary member of the Dick Clark 5.
Yeah, no, David, it's good to see you up there. You should be up here. But you're right, David. There's so many. He's deserving of it. I'm in a mood. I want to point my guns at any moving target. And he's so white bread, I thought he'd be safe. But you're right.
Right. Right.
I noticed that people are talking about Dolly Parton. She didn't want to be in at first because it was her way to get another album out, a rock album, and then suddenly she's a rock star, and all she did was put out another album of covers like every other band has.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to be in the Rock and Roll of Fame. Yeah, no one forced her in. And
why did you accept?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, she needed an excuse to put on a Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders uniform.
Well,
make an album.
Listen,
I covered Dolly Parton all the way. My first video on it, I kudoed her to no end. I love her as a songwriter. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But the more I covered it, and I covered every aspect of it, Dolly knew. And I think she was gaslighting us when she said no.
Yes.
Because that album, what is it? A double album, 30-some songs? All of this produced right. No, I won't. Okay, no. Well, yes. Okay, I'm going to do it. All right. And now I have a week and a half to put out 30 songs and get 42 co-hosts to get in there and do it. No, that's way too much pre-production. She was in on it from the beginning. I don't believe her anymore. Not at all.
I've listened to a bunch of the tracks from that on YouTube, and they all suck anyways.
They do. I agree with you. Yeah, I haven't heard a single track on the album that's worth $1 to purchase. Not even $1.
Is this the album that Paul McCartney and Ringo played on?
I don't know.
Okay.
Paul.
Didn't matter who was on it; they couldn't save it. So
no. Yeah, talk about somebody trying to shore up their rock credentials.
Well, you know what? And I've put out a video on this too. Paul McCartney, I think, is making nicey nice with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for that Wings nomination, and here's why I think so. Paul McCartney hates Jan Winter. If you don't think Paul McCartney doesn't hate Jan Winter, just take a look at the fact that Jan Winter is the one that put a kibosh when Ram first came out. Paul's very best album, by the way.
Right.
When Ram first, as good as any Beatle album, by the way, first came out, they were going to give it a good review. And Jan Winter, being good buddies and his nose firmly planted up John Lennon's ass so much. Phil Spector and this man, you know, and Alan Klein were so fucking destructive to the Beatles that they would have imploded if the Beatles weren't ready to implode themselves. Right. All right. He is an enemy to the state of rock and roll. I want a wanted poster on that man immediately. But anyway, he is. He put the kibosh on that. And instead, and I remember reading it because I purchased Rolling Stone. What? They did? No. And all the people at school were talking about how McCartney's just he's just lightweight, man. Now, 3-4 decades later, those same idiots are now saying what a wonderful album it was. I knew it was a wonderful album the day it came out. I didn't need people. I knew the McCartney album was a genius album way before the idiots in the 90s started going, that McCartney album, that's the first lo-fi album, man. And then everybody, I love the McCartney album. Oh, it's so wonderful. You fucking liars. You weren't there. I was there, man. I saw it. I know what people were saying. Just like everybody loved John Lennon's, Double Fantasy. Oh, it's so wonderful. Well, then why in the hell weren't you buying it? I bought it. Where were you, you monkeys? Oh, that's right. There wasn't a lemming to show you the direction of the cliff. Yeah. Yeah. I'll show you the direction. There ain't any water at the end of it, though. Just spikes.
Michael, why are you sugarcoating? Say just what you feel.
I know, Nick, but I'm shy.
Yeah, let it go,
shy.
Michael. Let it go.
I am so glad you vented that off. It'll be so good for your being.
Hey, Michael, check out.
Caitlin right now is rolling her eyes like,
Michael, check out Groovy Lisa's comment. I have it up right now.
Oh, we need a podcast, Grumpy Old Music Talk with Michael. I'll just walk. You know what? I'll do it on my front porch with my shotgun. Hey, you kids! Get off my lawn! Damn you, you clouds! Hey, I may be old as dirt, but I tell you what, when I fell in love with this music, I was young as anybody who could possibly be. I was 17, I was 16, I was 15, I was 14, I was 13 years old.
Same.
All right.
Same.
And I've never let the child in me go. Everybody's going, yeah, no shit. But no, I'm serious. I'm serious about this. The wonderment of a great brand new song. That's why I love, Chris and I were talking about Dirty Honey and Rival Sons and all of that. Brand new bands still spark that 9-year-old in me, man. I will never let go of the 9-year-old in me, and nobody ever should. There should always be magic in the world. Otherwise, you're ripping yourself off, man. If everything's, I'm a grown-up now. Yeah. And I don't say things or think things like that. I do all the time, man. I love a good Harry Potter book. I love Avenger comic books, and I always will,
Okay, Novice Nick showed an album. I have to show an album that I got. Another Christmas album.
I didn't show an
today.
album.
Road. You showed Road. Okay, this is Willie Nelson's greatest hits, and I tell you, it's a 2-album set, gray and black vinyl, clear vinyl and black vinyl, and I tell you, this album, I saw it at Walmart and Target, and I started reading through it, and it's just incredible. On the Road Again, Whiskey River, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain. You Were Always on My Mind, Poncho and Lefty. Willie and Merle Haggard, of course. I mean, it just goes on and on. Every one of these songs is like a home run, And the only song that was missing on it for me was Seven Spanish Angles with Ray Charles. I love that song. But everything else is here. And all the rock albums I was looking at, that was the one I wanted. A non-rock album. I love that.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
I even loved him in excuse me, I gotta go. Honeysuckle Rose, the movie.
Yeah.
Where Diane Cannon played his wife.
Right.
Slim Pickens was his old guitarist who died on the road. And, I really liked that because I'm going to tell you, besides the Hollywood tropes that were in that film, that's life. That's life on the road as I remember it. Kind of, pretty much, So I like it. It's a little glitzy, but I think it had a lot of truth to the film. I liked it. I loved it.
Yeah, Willie used to come about every year out here to the Pozo Saloon, which is out in the middle of nowhere, all farms and cattle ranches. And he'd show up with, like a dozen tour buses, and it would be Willie Nelson and friends. And man, they would just play and play and play. It was just amazing.
Well, yeah.
And the bus that looked like the biggest hot box, that was Willie's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You know what? Chris, he's, there's two guys that come to my mind that are like tokers beyond smokers, Willie Nelson, and Paul McCartney. Now, Paul McCartney has made claims in the last decade that he's quit pop. I don't believe him. I think he's as big a pothead as he's ever been. He's just rewriting his history a bit. But out of all the Beatles, McCartney, he kind of stayed with pot. He experimented with LSD. He even said in the early 70s, he even experimented with coke. But he said he didn't like what it did to his voice. Okay. But they're the smokers and tokers, there's something about their longevity. And I'm not talking about cigarette smoke. I'm talking about the ones who do marijuana but kind of keep it to marijuana and drink. Those are almost the cowboys of rock to me, and or country. I love country too, and I am a major Willie Nelson fan, as you know, Royce. I just don't think he belongs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
No, he belongs, and I don't either. But yeah,
but he should be way up there in the Country Hall of Fame. Definitely should rule the roost, as far as I'm concerned.
That's right. I know. I agree.
Yeah. And Michael, we were mentioning the Doors earlier, and you mentioned Rival Sons.
Right.
When I saw them open up for Black Sabbath, the singer did every Jim Morrison move you could think of.
Oh, really?
Including is it the end, I think, or when he gets shot and he falls flat on stage and then pops right back up. He did that perfectly, everything.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Jim, I remember what year would this have been? This would have been about 2000. Rolling Stone magazine, and I walked into a 7-Eleven, and there's Jim Morrison on the cover. And it says, he's hot, he's sexy, he's dead. That was the cover for Rolling Stone. And the article talked about his almost immortal status. I mean, he look how he was worked into, and you have to look into it and read between the lines. But the movie The Lost Boys almost hints at the fact that the founder of those boys, or the leader before David showed up, may have been the guy on the posters behind them in their lair. And that whole sexiness of the vampire and Jim Morrison and his art and all of that lives on. That's why the Doors had no chance without him. It was part of their fiber. He was part of their fiber.
Yeah. Well, Mike's got the Spins made a comment that I've read a few times too.
What's that?
Well, you know, Eddie Van Halen was a heavy smoker, and cigarettes may have taken his life way too early, but Eddie blames the metal guitar pick he used to hold in his lips up against his tongue, because he also had to have part of his a large part of his tongue removed, and he
I read something about
that metal guitar pick. Yeah, so thanks, Mike. Well, you know, guys, the show's been going on now for an hour and 15 minutes. And we're going to sign off. And I want to thank all my co-hosts. And I really want to thank everybody in the chat.
Yeah.
We appreciate each and every one of you. No show.
Had a great time tonight with all of you, really.
I had a great time with all of you, too.
Yeah, it was nice. Johnny, if you're still out there in the peanut gallery, thanks for coming up.
Johnny. Anytime, buddy. Anytime.
Nicholas,
all
always. And you know what? I'm just getting to know Mr. Elliott here, and I'm liking him every, more and more with every single time he shows up. So I had a great time. Thanks, Royce.
Yeah, I did too. Michael, thank you guys all. And that's what's going on in Royce's world today. Thank you all so much. Good night.
Night, folks. Night, Royce.
Good night.